The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount is yours on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Dan here. Hello. Michael's here as well. As is Moscow White as well. Daniel Chapman. To Filbert Street. They're still at Filbert Street, aren't they?
Something like that.
The old crisp munchers down there in Leicester. Yes, the King Power. They're terrible at the minute.
Home of the Leicester model. Let's not forget the King Power.
Yeah, it's amazing how that's panned out from a narrative perspective, isn't it? That they were held up as the gold standard, and they still have gold elements on their kits as well. Probably a kind of a hangover from winning the league title, which was how many years ago now? 6, 7, something like that.
I mean, I'm not going to criticise them for harking back to something quite recently.
Imagine a bunch of losers winning the Premier League within the last decade. What a bunch of terrible whingers.
Well, it's not like they missed out on it.
Yeah, no, playing in Europe.
Banging on about it years later. No, I mean, the Leicester model is not going so well right now, is it?
And that's all that matters. All their history is now worthless. Everything they've ever won, everything that ever went right.
Well, they're stuck
all in the bin.
They're stuck in the past, Moscow, which is not something you could say about us.
Yeah, okay.
It seems to be that their defence is at the root of their problems, isn't it? Because they've got lots of talent going forward still. I mean, I know Vardy's a year older. Good that Maddison's suspended as well because he is their top scorer. But at the back, they seem to have just completely lost their shit. Is this because, well, they sold Fofana, didn't they? And Schmeichel went to Nice, and he doesn't seem to be very Nice.
They've signed a perfectly good goalkeeper, though, to replace him, and are refusing to play him. They've got Alex Smithies, who obviously has a fantastic record of playing against Leeds. So stick him in.
So Alex Smith, just for anybody who doesn't know, doesn't remember, he was the keeper for Huddersfield. Was it 4 we stuck past him on that occasion?
I mean, he had a few occasions where he just completely lost his mind playing against us. There was the debut, I think it was his debut, when he was drafted in last minute as a 17-year-old and we put 4 past him. And
they were singing 4-0, it's your keeper's fault.
Yeah, and stuff about him being a virgin and stuff like that.
Yeah, but bullying children, basically.
Bullying a child.
Which is what Bolton did in that Papa John's Pepperoni Cup, whatever it's called.
That's true. But then he came back a few years later when he was actually established and was their first choice proper goalkeeper. Did mad stuff again, just running out for balls he couldn't get. And he seemed to have several days against us where it all went quite badly wrong for him. So stick him in there.
But I didn't even realise he was at Leicester.
I didn't either till yesterday. I was looking at who they'd signed because I remember at some point over summer they were saying Leicester are the only club to have not signed anybody. Was the stat going around?
Was that a lie?
It is now a lie, but only just because they got Smithies and in fact Moscow. I need your pronunciation. Where did they sign Wout Faes from?
I thought you were going to make me say.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it either.
Wout Faes.
Wout Faes.
It sounds like when you're moving out of the oot phase into the woot phase.
The woot phase.
I don't know what the next phase will be. From Reims.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Reims. Reims or something.
Well, you see, what confused me here is it's a different team, isn't it?
I know it is, yeah. But
so
I just wanted to hear. I know your pronunciation.
I can definitely say
great.
But this is Reims. It's easy.
so
it's much easier to pronounce.
And Reims.
Yes.
Okay.
They've had one.
Where does Kylian Mbappe play?
Up front.
Oh, okay.
They've had 1-1 all season of Leicester. Who was it they beat? Let's have a look. It was about 2 or 3 games ago. I should remember that, but I can't.
They beat Forest.
Of course they did,
which barely counts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So God, are they bottom now? Then after Forest got that point.
Yeah, they're kind of in a lot of bother. And the good news for us, James Maddison did a ridiculous dive against Palace right in the last minute as well, which was just the sweet spot to get him suspended for this.
Yeah, the problem is Harvey Barnes, though, isn't it? Because he scores against us every single time. So Maddison being out, whatever, he's
never come up against Rasmus before. In the form of his life, Moscow.
In the form of the past.
He is.
Few months.
I mean, I am, of course.
He's done very well.
I'm being playful with that, but he has had a couple of last games, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So
I think it's the quality of our fullback is irrelevant against Harvey Barnes. Since he marched out of our training ground promising, he strolled out saying like, yeah, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'll pick my shirt number. Like, really looking forward to this, and then went away. I'm signing for West Brom. He's made a point of scoring against us every single time, and that's what counts. And it doesn't matter. We could put Mel Sterland or Roberto Carlos on him, and it would be absolutely no difference.
We'll stop him. I've got a good feeling we'll stop him on Thursday.
We've got to get something from this, haven't we?
Yes. Yes, at least a point, if not 3. I think 3 would make everybody just relax that little bit more, because it is getting just a bit bunched up down there, isn't it? And we are just slightly, well, we're 19th in the form table, so that should tell you what the direction of travel has been recently. But a win would put us up to somewhere around mid-table again, wouldn't it? And it starts to stretch out that gap then to Leicester themselves. It would be 7-point gap then. I think we should do that. Should we just win?
WhoScored.com do say that we are set up to capitalise on their weaknesses. They are weak at defending against through ball attacks, and we saw lots of those on Sunday. They're weak at avoiding individual errors, so they're a team of Rodrigos. They're also very weak against defending counter-attacks and against long shots. So the 2 things we should try doing. Well, there's 3 things to try doing there, isn't there? We should try doing through ball attacks, and then we should also try doing counter-attacks, and we should try having lots of long shots because they're weak against all those. So we do those things, we'll be all right. And they've also, their strengths are the absolute epitome of a failing team, where the top thing is shooting from direct free kicks.
Which is James Maddison.
Yeah, so if that's the best thing your team can come up with, you're really in a bad situation. And then also, they're strong at creating long shot opportunities, which is not the same as having long shots, is it?
No.
So they're quite good at being able to sort of pass it to one of their midfielders from 50 yards out and go on, hit that, and him going, I can't. So that's them. And they also do create chances using through balls, but that's just because they've got Jamie Vardy, isn't it? So they just try that. And unfortunately, doesn't work, and it won't work against us. We will win.
It should be set up for us because they're a good blend of a team that try to play football and won't time waste, but are currently terrible. So it should play into our hands.
And also, Brendan Rodgers is having a proper old flap. He's in full panic mode at the moment. He's just like, he's even just now, I saw a tweet where he's going, I know the narrative out there is all about I'm going to get sacked, but I'm just focusing on the next game and I leave all the narrative to everybody else. It's like, you're struggling here, Brendan.
He's talking about the narrative, isn't he?
Yes.
So
he's berating the narrative, even like who used to do Postman Pat?
I don't know. I can only think of Ringo Starr and Thomas the Tank Engine.
That's a better example. Or whoever happened to be presenting Play Days that week.
There's sort of an air of us last season about them is that
it's the why bird stop.
That you're kind of waiting for them to kick in and think, well, it's Leicester, they're not that bad, but they are pretty bad, aren't they?
They've fucked up in quite a significant way, which is quite easy to sort of find, which is helpful. It's good when you can sort of see where it's all gone wrong, because then you can see how difficult it is for them to put it right. They said at the end of last season, Brendan Rodgers was saying, we need several new players for next season, otherwise we're going to be in trouble. And then they signed absolutely nobody, sold 2 other good players, and now they are absolutely in trouble. So it's like there's a big... And Brendan Rodgers is going to get the sack for it, which is hilarious. But that was him at the end of last season. It's like, this has all been fine. They got to mid-table, didn't they? They weren't terrible. But it's like, unless we get some new bodies in, particularly in defence for next season... we're going to struggle, and that's exactly what's happened. Exactly what they're doing.
We sell some people instead.
Yeah,
let's see how that goes.
So it's weird. They've completely stopped doing the Leicester model for this year, and then it's all collapsed quite predictably, and that's good because there's no way really of getting out of that. It's not like, I think with us getting into trouble a bit, it's kind of if we are getting into trouble. But the difference, I guess the difference with us is we feel like a team that's trying to, we did a load of stuff and now we're trying to put it all together. So we bought 5 players and we're trying to get some consistency with a new coach. Whereas they had to do something, didn't do it, and now they're in the shit. So getting out of that is more difficult than we are in that position of we've got something that should be working and we're trying to, cranking the engine on an old car.
I think what you're trying to get at, Moscow, I can see what you're searching for this one, is they're at the end of a cycle and it feels like we're at the start of one, maybe.
They're fucked, we're not.
And also, they've got injuries. Pereira's out quite long term, isn't he? And Didi's got a thigh injury. Evans is doubtful. Bertrand is also out because he's waiting for an op. So we've now found 1,000 reasons why we should win this. Mm-hmm. The important thing is that we actually do.
Yes. Back to where it all began for Jesse. It was his first game, wasn't it? Leicester away.
We actually played all right.
It was promising. Mm-hmm. It was good. It seemed we basically did all the Bielsa attacking stuff, but just didn't man mark from memory. And it seemed kind of fine. We should have got something from it.
Yeah, Junior Firpo. Didn't he at the bar?
He may have done.
Yeah, he was getting into their box and playing really well. But hopefully it'll be the big pirate. Maybe he'll score another like he did against Crystal Palace.
Bamford to start?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so
as well.
I think Bamford to start, and I think maybe this is where he gets his goal. And I hope it just goes in off his arse or something like that. Just one to bobble in for him, so he can just exercise the ghosts of the penalty and missing and just shake the Bamfordiness off.
Scored a lovely goal against Leicester in that first season.
Yeah, it was at the 4-1.
Yes, was it 4-1?
Let's say 4-1.
Might have been 3.
It might have been 3-1, I think.
Yeah. It was a great goal.
I'm going for 4.
Took it.
Shall I check?
But to see Pat Bamford hitting a ball like that feels like a different player, doesn't it? It's the one we saw on the weekend, like panicking a bit and struggling. And
well, this was it with the argument you were having with me when I wasn't here about whether he had any good chances against Arsenal. It's all very well looking at a big circle on an XG map, but then when you look at what actually happened for each of those big circles, the ball was just kind of...
It was 3-1.
Bouncing about between his ankles and his knees and never sort of sitting in a position where you'd think he can just swing his leg through and hit that. Maybe his fault that he couldn't get it under control that way. The one where he belted it into Aaron Ramsdale's bollocks was a good chance. And the thing with that was maybe you could hold that against him because he intercepted the pass really well, but that chance fell victim to the fact that Pat Bamford's first touch is not Jack Harrison's. So as he intercepted it, he sent himself a little bit wide and made the chance a little bit more difficult. But the other ones, when we did actually get him into the box, there was just never... You were waiting for the ball to just kind of... Or hoping the ball would just go that little bit off to one side so we could put a foot through it. And it never sort of got out from under him. So that's why I didn't consider them to be like clean, clear-cut chances that you just expect him to run onto a ball and side foot it home. There was always just... He was in the position and he had the ball, but he didn't have just that clean strike on. And the setup for Somerville shouldn't be ignored as well, because that was... Somerville should have buried that as well. But he's not far away. And I think as well...
He needs to click, doesn't it? It just needs to click into gear for him.
But it's just finishing. And that can come and go. It was always the one thing Bielsa said he wouldn't train it because you can't. It's up to the player to just finish it when they get there. But I think the more important thing with Bamford on Sunday was when I watched it back, the difference in the second half and how he made the whole attacking performance happen was just amazing and definitely worth it. It makes me think, start him. And even if he misses 2 chances, somebody's got to bury one. We'll make more chances with him in the team. So even if he misses the ones that fall to him, there should be more chances falling to other players because he is there. And it almost makes you wonder, because the other question is why didn't we buy another one or somebody who can stand in for him? But then when you see the difference he specifically makes, it's kind of like, well, who else is there? There will be somebody, but like how much you have to pay and who else is there to get who can make that immediate impact, half fit, coming into a second half against the team that's leading the league table. Rodrigo can't do it, and we've spent £30 million for him, and we've had several other sort of junior attempts at playing the Bamford role. Nobody does it like Bamford, and so let's just hope he stays fit and scores as well, because the scoring will get people off his back, won't it? And maybe has a haircut, because I don't know if either tie it back very soon or go back to being short back and sides, because the in-betweeny thing doesn't seem to be doing a great deal for him. I'm not growing a man bun, but I feel like I need a haircut, and I think I look at him and think, he's not looking in the mirror every morning, Pat, and thinking, this has got to go one way or the other. It seems like his hair grows really slowly, because he's been working on that for a long time, getting it to this point, but it's still not at the point where he can like tie it back or style it or something. So he needs, he's approaching like a critical situation in our season is what haircut is Bamford finally going to choose?
Yeah. We were saying that it's like, when you weren't here, we were saying it's much like your hair and it doesn't grow really long, it just grows out.
Yeah, I did during lockdown. I just let it go and ended up, if you see Tim Burgess out the Charlatans and he has that huge bowl cut, I was
thinking Bob Ross.
No, it's not Bob Ross. It doesn't go
for the Is it the Jive painting he does?
Yeah, it's not. It's not tight and curly. It just goes kind of wavy. But yeah, it was just a big bowl cut that was kind of across my nose. I was ready to sort of go and join Ride back in 1991 or something. And then I decided it was coming to the point because I often wear a hat and I couldn't actually put the hat on because it kept springing back up again because it's quite strong hair.
I've got strong hair.
I've got strong hair.
What an outrageous claim.
It's strong.
Strong hair.
It's strong.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Back to Leicester.
You could transport vehicles over a bridge.
Back to Leicester.
Instead of a bridge, even. That makes more sense.
The note of caution is that, the Premier League is very competitive and it's very hard to win games. So we just need to be not complacent about this one and go out there and work our bollocks off to get this win, which they will. They always work very, very hard. But I think just from our sort of fans' mental perspective, not to think, that this is going to be a walk in the park, because no game in the Premier League is a walk in the park.
Yeah. Coming off the back of Arsenal, though, you think, given the form relative form of Leicester and Arsenal, if we play anything like we played against Arsenal, we will surely win this game.
I'm not predicting.
I know form doesn't work like that because having watched the Palace game, you would have had no idea we were going to play well against Arsenal. The logical thing to say would be, well, we'll probably lose about 4-0.
Yeah. First half, the Palace was decent.
Yeah, it was.
So,
but I think
have a decent first half at Leicester, score a goal, and then have a decent second half.
We had a decent first half against Arsenal as well.
I was just going to say, I'm not predicting that we'll win. I always like to think that Leeds will win. I'm just telling them to win.
I think we need to win.
Just go and do it.
What happens if we don't win?
Then we either draw or lose, don't we?
We get all tense about Fulham, which I don't want.
Yeah.
Although I'm a bit tense about that anyway, because I think we do need to win that.
Yeah.
Although what happens if we don't win that?
This is what I'm asking you.
I don't know.
It puts us in pretty hot water if we lose both these games this week. It puts us in hot water. So let's not think about it.
Okay.
I think denial is a very, very important quality. Mm-hmm. So let's just go with the Leeds win.
Okay.
There you go. Part 2 done and dusted. Heroes and villains of the week to pick on the way for you shortly.
The Square Ball Podcast.